He was just 6, but the mystery of who murdered Rikki Neave has lasted 27 years. The little boy who walked into the woods near his home in Peterborough and never walked out again. James Watson was 13 at the time. He kept his terrible secret for nearly 3 decades until new DNA evidence proved his guilt.
Today we finally secured justice for Rikki and his family, following an almost 30-year battle to find the truth. When we reviewed and reopened the case in 2015, we were committed to finding the person responsible for Rikki's untimely death and ensuring that they were brought to justice.
Rikki's mother thought he'd gone to school on the day he went missing. At 6 p.m, she phoned police.
Go ahead, call the police. My son hasn't come back from school yet. Pardon? I said I'm reporting my son missing. He hasn't been back from school. Right. Well, I haven't seen him since this morning. OK, what's your name, please? Mrs. Ruth Neave.
It would be the next day that Rikki's body was found here, in the woods, just 5 minutes from his home. He'd been strangled and there was no sign of his clothing. His school uniform would finally be found in a wheelie bin 100 metres away from here. This was now a murder investigation, and the prime suspect would soon be his own mother.
Rikki was known to social services as a vulnerable child on the at-risk register. Ruth Neave was put on trial, but acquitted of her son's murder. She was later jailed after pleading guilty to charges of cruelty. But following her release and for the many years after, she and her husband campaigned for the case to be reopened. They spoke to me in 2016 when an arrest was finally made.
It's just, what could we say? There's not a lot you can say. This is only one step along what we're trying to get to, and that's truth and justice for Ruth and for Rikki.
A key piece of evidence would eventually convict Rikki's killer. 20 years after the murder, tests would find James Watson's DNA on Rikki's clothes. He had been spoken to by police at the time, aged 13. But when arrested in 2016 about the DNA, his story changed. He claimed he'd lifted up Rikki to look at workmen on a nearby building site. Jurors also heard how he fled the UK and went to Portugal when he was on bail. A European arrest warrant was issued and he was extradited. Rikki himself would now be in his early 30s and possibly with a family of his own. Neglected, then murdered, but no longer denied justice. Julian Drucker, 5 News.